Okay, so the interview begins. Do I have your permission to record the Skype interview?
Yes, you do.
You do? Okay. And do I also have your consent to upload this interview onto a website? The website will have a password and will be viewable by my graduate studies associates and other interviewees.
Yes,
Okay,
you
great.
have my permission.
So I'm going to explain my project here. I'm doing my final project at Northern Arizona University in my master's degree, rhetorical writing and digital media major. I chose an interdisciplinary focus, the study of the documentary Cowspiracy, its effectiveness as a model for behavior change towards environmental sustainability, and as a media literacy tool. So I'm going to define media literacy, and I'll redefine it when I ask you the question about that. But basically, media literacy is the ability to critically analyze media. So when someone is watching TV or an advertisement or a movie, they think about who created the message, what the purpose of that message is, and how different people might see that message differently. The best way to teach media literacy can be to create it because you get a perspective of being behind the camera and realizing it's a constructed image. So I'm ready to start the questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, question number 1. Please tell me about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Jessica Magnuson, and I work in Korea, in Gwangju, Korea.
Yeah.
I teach at a university. It's called Gwangju National University of Education, and there I teach freshman English courses, and I also teach special programs. It's funded by the government, so whenever any program comes through the university, whatever it is, I'll teach it. So I've done teacher training courses, I've done English camps, I've done English interview courses. So it's been quite a variety. I've also done children's classes there. And so every year I teach graduate courses there too. So I've been there since 2011.
Perfect.
So I really like it.
I'm really looking forward to hearing your feedback on the questions that I have. So I appreciate your interview. Anything else?
Oh, no, that's all.
Yeah? Okay.
About myself.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Number 2. So you watched the movie Cowspiracy. When did you watch it?
Yes. Well, I watched it twice.
Okay.
So I watched it about a week ago, and I watched it again today.
Oh,
because I was having this interview today, so I wanted to make sure it was fresh in my mind. So, and also to kind of give me to kind of review what I had seen.
Okay, so, wonderful. Yeah. So it's fresh in your mind.
It is fresh in my mind, yeah.
Great. And the question is, well, what did you think of it? That's number 2.
Well, I thought it was very well done. I've watched other documentaries kind of about the food industry, and they have a lot of gory images. But this movie had lots of interviews with people. So I really appreciated that because, it's hard to see animals being mistreated. I mean, we know that that's happening, but the fact that they showed a little bit of that, but they showed mostly, him talking to people and getting their input. I also thought it was very good with the graphics. So he'd give some kind of facts and figures, and then he would give some graphic that would help explain it, in ways that I think that people could understand more easily.
Right. He would use like charts and graphs and visuals to kind of put his statistics into perspective really clearly.
Yeah,
right?
like how much cow poop is produced per year. He kind of had a map, and he had it covering cities and countries and that kind of thing. So it really kind of put things into perspective. And he also compared the clearing of the amount of clearing of the rainforest. I think per second was the amount of a football field. Mm-hmm. So you kind of show that with an animated graphic, which made it easier to understand. Mm. So,
yeah, I found I was really in awe of his skills to portray information that way. And
I thought he did a very good job with that.
Yeah, I hope I can learn such skills.
I'm sure you can.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anything else that you wanted to add about question 2?
Let's see, about the movie. When I first watched it, mm-hmm. I had to take breaks when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Not the images were upsetting, but the facts and figures were kind of upsetting, to realize. I mean, these are kind of things that I've heard for the first time. So, yeah. I mean, I might have, in the back of my mind, I didn't really have an idea how much destruction was happening.
Right.
So,
yeah. My previous interviewee said the same thing. She said it was hard to watch and it took her a little while. For me, when I watched it, it was in a group setting, so I wasn't in control of it, and I had no idea what it was going to be about, really. So I had to go all the way through to the end. But I can see how if you're in front of your own computer, you might kind of digest it slowly.
Yeah. So.
Number 3, did Cowspiracy influence your attitudes, habits, or behaviors in some way?
Well, I saw it for the first time about a week ago, and since then I've been eating more meals that without meat. So I've been reducing my meat intake. So that definitely influenced it in that way. Also, I kind of searched for some other information too. Mm-hmm. I looked. I watched YouTube videos. I was interested in other people's reactions, what they had to say about it. I was also wondering, some of the facts and figures that he used. I wanted to see if that was backed up by other sources as well.
Did you find the Cowspiracy fact page?
I did not.
Okay,
yet.
I can send that to you. There's so much information. It's such a panacea of different environmental impacts, right? Yeah, actually on the website, I'll send it to you later, there is one page that he created with links to all of the information, where he got it from. And it would take a long time to really go through it all, but if you have particular questions, you can take a look. So I'll send that to you, and that's part of what I'm doing in my project, is looking at some of those facts and cross-referencing them with other research. So
yeah, because I saw a video of another guy who was saying that there was a range of the emissions from raising cattle or raising livestock. I think the figure they used was 51%. Mm-hmm. But I think that I saw a video and they were saying, well, it's between 18 to 51%. So
yeah, I think it's quite a complex documentary, because climate science is quite complicated, and I think with the difference in that figure, it is dependent on whether they include also land use and water use and those other things factored in. So that's something that I'm going to try to address in my report, but it's such a huge scope. I really like how the documentary gets people starting to check their own facts and make up their own minds. And the information is out there, but we're not inundated with these facts. For most people, it's the first time to hear these things. And what I really felt was I empathized with him, in that I wanted to do everything I could for the environment. And when I learned this, I was shocked that it wasn't already very salient and prominent information.
Well, I think what was neat about this documentary was that at the beginning of the movie, when he started making it, or when he talked about, how he wanted to be an environmentalist, he didn't start off as a vegan. So, but through his research and conclusions that he came to, he decided to go in that direction. And he also was concerned. I remember he was talking to the doctor, and he was concerned. Well, will I be getting enough, nutrients? Can I eat? Can I be healthy if I'm a vegan? And so he had a lot of concerns that people have when they're trying to make this transition, I think. So, and I'm not a vegan. Not yet. I'm sure it will be soon after watching this movie. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, it takes time to change a lifestyle. I am vegan, and I've been vegan, as you know, for about, I think, 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
But I think there was a full year of transitioning where I would mostly eat vegan, but there were certain foods that I had a hard time letting go of. And, yeah, it's a process to make such a big change in your life. Some people do it immediately. Some people take more time. From what I've seen, people who take more time to do it kind of naturally tend to sustain the changes, more permanently. So, he is making a second documentary as well. Did you know about that?
No, I didn't know about that.
I recently saw he's making another one focused on the health industry, actually. So, I can send you the link for that as well.
Yeah, but it's not complete yet, is it?
Oh, no.
It's still in the process of making it.
To make this film, he used crowdsourcing fundraising, which is a website where people just make anonymous or non-anonymous donations. And he's doing the same thing now. So they actually put it up on, I think it was the Indiegogo crowdsourcing website, and they had a target that they reached in a day. So it's definitely going to happen. And I saw him put a note up saying anything exceeding that they will use to advertise the film and translate it into more languages. So
he's going to be talking about the health industry. And is it also related to meat consumption or meat dairy consumption?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was something that I would find very interesting. That wasn't really included in the first, or in Cowspiracy. Yeah. So that would be very interesting. So I look forward to watching that.
Yeah, it does leave people with going, okay, so I see a solution, but he doesn't explain how to do it. I think that is a strength and weakness of the documentary, right? Like you, before I was vegan and I would watch gory images of animal slaughter, I just kind of tuned out. It was overload to me. I couldn't absorb it. It was just too much for me. But I found that he appeals through logic or logos instead of emotion in the beginning, and then people can understand the reasons why. And then there are other reasons to also adopt that diet and lifestyle, including health and compassion. Yeah. But to take them on all at once can be overload. Yeah,
I really appreciated that he didn't have, there were a couple of gory images, but compared to the other documentaries, it was mainly, his story and also interviewing people. Yeah. And I really appreciated that because I was expecting, to see a lot of very shocking images, which I've seen in documentaries that I haven't been able to make it through because it's too disturbing.
Yeah.
So I feel like he took the right approach. Because I think he wants people to become more environmentally friendly. So I think he definitely took the right approach with that. What was I going to say? I forgot. But I thought he did a good job. I know that there are lots of documentaries about the food industry, and there are a lot of people who will refuse to watch them, because they already know they're not going to like what they see. So they already know that. So I think you had recommended it a long time ago, but I think I kind of was like, oh no, it's gonna be too upsetting. But it turned out to, in the end, it turned out to have a very positive message. So
Yeah,
it was good. Yeah.
I experienced the same thing, and so if I recommend anything, I usually recommend this one, like for the reasons we explained. Well, you have so much experience as an educator, so I'd really like to focus the rest of the interview time, if you don't mind, on the last question, which I formulated as number 4: how can Cowspiracy, this film, best be used as an educational tool inside or outside the classroom? And I'm particularly interested in how it relates to media literacy, which I will remind you the basic definition is media literacy. Teaching it in a classroom involves showing students images and getting them to develop critical thinking skills to break down who made the image, why they made it, how other people might see the same image differently than yourself, of different demographics and experience. And also, in part of a class like that, they would be learning to create their own media so they can get the perspective of being behind the camera or whichever method is used. But I'm interested in any kinds of ideas that you would have for using this as an education tool. For me, I found that he was also a model of incredible skills in media literacy, and he kind of takes you along a journey of doing things that you do when you are learning media literacy, which is to ask questions and look for answers and look for facts behind what someone says and how people back up what they say. So I leave the question to you. How can it be used as an educational tool? What are some ideas you have?
Well, I think it depends on the age group. It also depends where you and I are in an EFL setting, so it also depends on the language level, how much English they know. But I have some ideas. I would show them. Well, depending on the group, I would show either part or the whole movie, and maybe ask them what part did you see that stood out the most to you, and ask them to write something about that, and then they would compare with each other. I don't know if that would be considered media literacy, but everybody would be picking up on something different. Like someone might be talking about the water usage, where someone might be zeroing on the rainforest clearing, or someone else might be interested in the health issues or something like that. So they'd all be picking a different part of the movie that really kind of struck them in some way, and then reflecting on that, commenting on that, and then sharing. So I think it's always helpful to ask people to give their opinions of something when they watch anything. What did you think about that? And what part was the most interesting to you? What part was the most shocking to you? If it was a younger, well, actually not necessarily a younger group, but any group, I want them to grow plants.
I think that's a great idea.
I want, even if it's in a classroom, because the process of growing something could be very very interesting, and they could take pictures of that. They could document what the plant looks like as it grows. Something edible, right? So they could be even growing, lettuce or, I don't know, lettuce, tomatoes, potatoes, whatever, So I think they could be growing something. And I think the process of growing plants is a very powerful one. So that's something that teachers do with students a lot. But if it's something that you can eat,
fantastic idea, right?
You can take those and prepare food with what they've grown. So I think that could be very powerful. And I also think they could take pictures and, they could make charts, they could document, they could measure it.
Yeah.
Oh, how much did it grow in a particular week? And,
yeah, I followed some teachers who do projects like that, and it can be very transformational for the students to empower them. And students do want to eat food when they realize where it comes from. Jamie Oliver made a TED Talk about American kids and schools, and a lot of them, he would show them a vegetable and they actually didn't even know the name of the vegetables, because in some schools kids ate so much processed food that they didn't actually know where food comes from.
Well, to be fair, at that age I may not have known either. I ate a lot of processed food too. So.
But it's a good
But I ate a lot of good stuff, but I ate a lot of processed food too. So
I think that's an amazing idea. I had an idea about like a vegan cooking class, but I think that takes it on to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I think that would definitely take it to a new level. So those are the two ideas, the two main ideas. Just feedback on the movie, and then sharing your feedback. So especially if everybody is picking out a different detail or different part, and then they share what was interesting to them, that also gets students to see that everybody has a different perspective, and everybody's kind of interested in something else, or everybody's kind of drawn to something else. I think we have a tendency, or people have a tendency to think that, everybody thinks the same as me, or everybody should think the same as me. And everybody, that part was most interesting to me, so it should be most interesting to everybody else. So seeing that everyone else has a different perspective could be very interesting.
I love that idea. I think that's very central to a lot of this. What I've learned in my grad studies is to value multifarious perspectives of people that can be considered other, and not, to value everyone's perspective equally. Really bang on there. You're also quite interested in studying plants as well, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, I took, last semester, I took a medicinal plants class at my university in the continuing education department. So it started to inform me on what kind of plants are good for your health, and where you can find them in the fields and the mountains. And there's so much to learn, so I haven't learned. I'm actually going to continue it next semester, so I'm going to continue learning about that.
I would really love to get my Korean level to the level of yours, where I can be taking university courses in Korean to get. I think there's a lot of beautiful information that's available. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
One thing about number 4. And you said that each student could, share their own idea and their own perspective. Do you have any ideas about how they could do that through creating media? Something that would be feasible?
I don't know. I don't know if this would be considered media, but I love PowerPoint. So I'd have them, they could, this might be a boring idea, but they could, make a PowerPoint presentation.
I think it's fantastic. It can also include many other things, right? Like a video clip or images and...
Yeah, well, I think that also, if somebody's gonna, for example, if somebody's going to kind of research the water usage, they can maybe make their own graphic.
Right.
So he made his graphic, but they could make their own graphic, or they could. I think he did a really good job with it. The graphics and the animation. So they could look at that as kind of a model, and then they could think of their own creative way to make their own graphic to illustrate something. It doesn't even have to be a Cowspiracy fact, but it can be something, another fact or figure that they're taking, they've seen what he's done, and then they, make their own graphic and they present that to the class.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so I thought he did a really good job with that. And that would be something that they could see, they could learn from that. And it might have to draw their attention to that. And I think the students would really like that.
Oh, I think so. I think it would be very empowering. I'd love to bring some programs into the class, helping people learn those skills. I myself would have to learn them better as well in order to teach it.
Well, those things I learned through diving in, basically.
Yeah.
Through doing something with your students. Even if you don't really know what you're doing at first, you'll get to know. It's a lot more exciting to learn those kinds of skills if you're working with a group of students than if you're just trying to learn them yourself. It's
probably a lot of our students would be better than us anyways. They could teach us how to use media these days.
Might be. Yeah, but you can learn something from them too.
Absolutely. I think that's a valuable attitude to think of. Something like that we can learn from our students.
But they even though they may not have had those kinds of opportunities. I still think that creativity is still kind of discouraged in Korea in general. I know that, when I've taught children's classes, their parents don't want them drawing pictures in class. They want them, they want them speaking or listening or, reading or writing, but they don't want them producing art. I've met with that kind of attitude from some parents, not all, but enough for that to be a concern. So
yeah, I struggle with that. Having taught many different ages as well, when we're in a classroom, we're not in a classroom. Let's say we have 10 students. There are actually 30 people in that room. There are the students, and their moms and dads are very present. I feel like their expectations are really important in the class. I mean, it's like that in any classroom, but I think in Korea, with filial piety being such an important part of their culture, it's really strong. Yeah.
And I've also, an unusual thing is I've also met a lot of students who don't really like drawing, because they haven't done enough of it, or they haven't been encouraged to do it, or they feel like they have to draw a princess in a certain way, or they have to draw a frog in a certain way, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've encountered.
Well, maybe having a menu of options of different creative projects that they can do and let them choose would be good, and everyone can take on a different aspect of developing something. We're at the time that I think we should finish up. Is there any last words that you would like to share?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, well...
Yeah, do you have any additional questions?
No, not really. Thank you so much for sharing your time in the interview, and you gave me a lot of valuable feedback. Of course, I'll be talking to you and sharing the interview with you, and if you have anything else you want to say later, you can let me know.
Okay, if I think of anything else, I'll let you know.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay,
I'll
thank
talk
you
to
very
you soon.
much. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.